Suicide intervention. How are we falling short? This website provided a large amount of statistics and research and incorporated findings by Dr. Kane outlined in his article, Forging an Agenda for Suicide Prevention in the United States. Additionally, I used information from the American Journal of Public Health in their article, Broadening the Focus of Suicide Prevention Activities Utilizing the Public Health Models. Finally, research done by therapist Mormon in our article, Working with Suicidal Clients. Suicide rates in the nation continue to increase despite many efforts to help each year. In 2008, suicide was the 10th leading cause of death in the United States, and suicide was the 3rd leading cause of death in the 15 to 24 age group. Not only does suicide cause premature deaths and have long-lasting, devastating impact on loved ones, it also has an economic cost to society. In 2005, there were 32,637 deaths due to suicide. At the same time, the nation spent an estimated $34.6 billion on suicide-related treatment and prevention. The hospitalization and emergency room costs arising from self-harm behaviors in 2005 were $6.4 billion. It is estimated for every one suicidal death, there were 11 attempted suicides. Suicide does not discriminate. People of all genders, ages, and ethnic groups are at risk. People most at risk tend to share certain characteristics: untreated mental health and substance abuse disorders, family history of mental health or substance abuse disorders, family violence, prior suicide attempts or family history of suicide, having guns or weapons in the home, and incarceration. The risk for suicidal behavior is also associated with brain chemistry. Lower levels of the neurotransmitter serotonin, which is also associated with depression, have been found in people with a history of suicide attempts. Now that we have spoken about the risk factors, it is just as important to point out that there are many evidence-based models explaining the best intervention and treatment approaches. In the acute stage of all these models include listening closely to the current problem, assessing the current situation, and planning for safety. Long-term treatment includes individual therapy to address the underlying coping mechanism of the individual and/or trauma work, psychiatric medication assessment and management. As you can see, suicidality is a huge problem with many resources already being dedicated to it. However, the problem is not getting better. According to experts like Eric B. Kane, MD, we must start addressing this problem in a more globally comprehensive way by better addressing the underlying causes associated with suicide if we're ever to be successful. Dr. Kane suggests that the most effective way to prevent suicides is to prevent the exposure of preventable traumas that any one individual experiences. Some examples of preventable traumas are untreated mental health issues, family violence, child abuse and neglect, school and community violence such as bullying, drug and gang-related violence. Other experts agree with Dr. Kane that until the system proactively addresses the underlying causes of untreated trauma and violence in our society, it may be almost impossible to reduce the number of suicides in our currently crisis-driven system of care. To summarize my findings, it appears clear that over the last 20 years, a great deal of solid research has confirmed the risk factors involved in regards to an individual becoming suicidal, and the best acute and long-term treatment for someone who presents with symptoms of self-harm. However, the actual number of suicides has not declined as a result. As we understand more about the effects of trauma on an individual, the experts all agree that the best way to prevent suicides is to reduce the incidence of preventable traumas for any one individual. Clearly, there is no room to cut any current crisis services, yet to properly address the current problem, we would need to simultaneously fund more proactive services that aid in the prevention of trauma. Most experts agree that until we can provide this prevention, then it is unrealistic to believe that the current crisis-driven system will be able to greatly reduce the number of yearly suicides.
Created using Powtoon.